Hello and welcome to Daily Dose Radio, a 5-minute-a-day podcast studying the Psalms verse by verse, recorded here in the dining room of the Bible Bistro, located in Sharonville, Ohio. Hey there friends, welcome back to Daily Dose Radio here in the Bible Bistro, and today in the Bible Bistro, we're looking at verse 4 in Psalm 13. Verse 4, the enemy comes back in here. We haven't had the enemy for a while. In this psalm we haven't. We've had him there in Psalm 9 and in Psalm 10 and in Psalm 11. We had him in there, and we've had him in Psalm 12. And then we come to Psalm 13, and we have the questions. How long? And so forth. And we have all these four questions in the first two verses. And then we have the request in verse 3, consider and answer me, O Lord my God. And then we have verse 4, and here's why he wants an answer. So let me read for you verse 4 today. Lest my enemies say, I will finish him. Those that vex me rejoice when I am moved. So the enemy shows up. So he's worried about himself. He is asking the four questions. He asks God to answer him. And then he says, I might die, and if I die, the enemy's going to say, I'm going to finish him. Those that vex me rejoice when I'm moved. Of course, that's not acceptable because the psalmist is worried about that happening. He wants God to get the glory and so forth, and he doesn't want the enemy to be the one to, put him down. So he says, lest my enemies say, I will finish him. Here we have the voice of the enemy. Notice we have another quote. We're listening to him speak. Lest the enemy say, and of course the enemy would say this, I will finish him. The voice of the enemy is seen here, and this is just like what we have back in Psalm 10. You remember Psalm 10 gives us that outline of the wicked man. And in verse 8, we have these words about the wicked man. He hangs out in the lurking places of the villages, in the hiding places. He kills the innocent. His eyes lurk against the hapless. So the wicked man is doing exactly what he says he's going to do here. He says, lest the enemy say, I will finish him. Of course, that's exactly what they want to do. The hapless here are those who the enemy wants to ruin. He wants to take the poor, the innocent, the humble, and he wants to destroy them. And then you'll notice in the second phrase, those that vex me rejoice when I am moved. Again, we go back to Psalm 10. In Psalm 10, verse 6, we have these words, he says in his heart, I will not slip or be moved forever. Forever there will be no evil. So you see, the wicked man says, I'm not going to slip or I'm not going to be moved. And the psalmist says here, those that vex me rejoice when I'm moved. So the psalmist is worried about being moved. The wicked man isn't. The wicked man says, I'm not going to be moved. The psalmist says, you know what? If he punishes me, if he vexes me and rejoices over the fact that I am moved, and of course moved means being moved off of his faith, being moved off of his stance for righteousness. But I noticed something else as I was looking through Psalm 10 again and considering it for this verse. There's also a place in Psalm 10 where the wicked man says, let me turn back over here to Psalm 10. Yeah, in verse 11, he says in his heart, God has forgotten. He has hidden his face and doesn't see forever. Do you remember what the psalmist, the first two questions the psalmist asks there in Psalm 13, the very first verse? He says, how long will you forget me forever? Will you hide your face from me? The wicked man says, God has forgotten. God is forgetting. He has forgotten. And he's hidden his face. He doesn't see. The righteous man, the psalmist, is worried about God forgetting and about God hiding his face. The wicked man is counting on it. You see the difference? The righteous man doesn't want that to happen. The wicked man is counting on it happening. And of course, it's not going to happen for either one of them. Join me again tomorrow, and we're going to look at verse 5. And in verse 5, we're going to see the payoff. This is wonderful. Verse 5 sets everything right. So join me then here on Daily Dose Radio. Thanks for listening to Daily Dose Radio. For more fresh and delicious Bible studies, podcasts, books, and more, check out the Bible Bistro online and on YouTube. Join me again next time for Daily Dose Radio.